Say,
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm Ross Benjamin. As always, on Wednesdays, I'm joined by Mr. Chip Chirimbus, and it is a Wednesday, December the 15th. And my man Chip is on the other side of me here. And Chipper, how are you today?
doing absolutely wonderful. But you know what? In 10 weeks in the NFL on Sunday, I've won my best bet 8 times. The 2 losses were overtime games, were a field goal by the opposition. I still would have won. I mean, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, same thing happened in Dallas and New England. But otherwise, things are really coming along, particularly in the NFL, where, like I said, we've hit 8 out of 10 on Sundays. And we've got a great weekend in store this week as well.
Yeah, that was ludicrous how that Buffalo game ended. A couple, the one no call on Diggs in the end zone, and then
Wow.
the pass interference call on Buffalo in overtime on that 3rd and 6 play. You know, you can cry over spilled milk, but usually one call you could live with, but 2 calls, come on,
And,
and
they're so inconsistent on this roughing the passer call.
yeah,
I mean, a couple of times I've seen guys just get absolutely smacked and nothing.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I looked at some statistics going back to 1991. 61% of the overtime games have been decided by 3 points since then. And if the team who receives the opening kickoff
right.
fails to score, that decided by 3 points, it goes up to 73%.
Well, there
So,
you go. I'm part of the 27% because both times, the Dallas game and the New England game, I received the kickoff and
right.
only needed a field goal by the other team, not
And
the
you got a
opposition, which
touchdown.
was Tampa Bay and Dallas. And Ross, this is why it's called gambling. But
Yeah.
when you have the underdog, particularly in basketball, and you go into overtime, I think you're in trouble. I had it the other night. I got beat in the NBA, but the game went overtime. You're getting 2.5. You lose by 3, and it's the name of the game. It's not an easy racket. We're
Yeah,
sitting here
it
and
just
doing the best we can. And, we have guys going to the line with 2 seconds to go and they have 2 free throws and they brick them both. And you only need one to cover. Oh, Lordy.
and I go back to the old adage though that we remember the games we lose like
Yeah.
that, but we soon forget the games we win like that.
Hey,
Um,
Ross, what about the NCAA game when they pulled Duke back out onto the field after they'd been onto the court when they were in the locker room to make 2 free throws? He misses the first one, makes the second one. They win by a half. I was choking myself. I was so sick with that
I'll
one.
never forget the one when Buffalo played New England many years ago, and Doug Flutie was the quarterback of Buffalo then, and uh, Buffalo was up in the game, I believe, by 5. And New England was -1.5. And but New England throws a Hail Mary pass with no time left on the clock. And they call pass interference on Buffalo in the end zone. So they get an untimed down from the 1 yard line.
Right.
Of course, they score. And they win the game. They're up 1. And Buffalo's so disgusted with the pass interference call, which hardly ever gets called on a Hail Mary play.
Right.
They leave the field completely. Well, back then, the NFL
You had to run an extra
rules
point.
is you had to run the extra points. So they
Right.
run the 2-point conversion. They win the game by 3, and they cover the freaking game. Anyway, uh, let's get to our free. Well, let's
Okay,
talk
let's
about
do
a
it.
couple of things first. Let's talk
Okay.
about, first of all, this COVID stuff going on in the NFL.
Wow.
We got 7 teams right now that can only meet virtually because they have so many COVID protocol situations. So keep an eye on that. There's look those teams up because they're going to be at a decided disadvantage. Doesn't mean they're going to automatically lose. Doesn't mean they're going to automatically cover, but you should be aware
Well,
of that, okay?
you,
And it's probably going to be reflected in some line moves this week.
Well, I was just going to say that, Ross. The odds maker, the bookmaker, has adjusted already to
Yeah.
these not rumors when they know what's going on. Like we said, the Raiders going from a huge 6-point underdog, 6.5, whatever it was. Now they're favored against the Browns, who have 17 people out, including Mayfield and their coach. This is why, we have to stay on it diligently for the late information that we have that we can use and provide for our customers. like I said, I think that, and nowadays, especially around the holidays, where people are doing shopping and there's so much going on, you're working, you have your kids. That's why they need us, because we can sit there and we can sit and just evaluate all this information that's coming in continuously, and we're on top of it. Whereas some people may notice what's going on. Sometimes you call me to tell me something that I wasn't even aware of, and this is the communication and the information we share is vital, I think, at this time of the year.
I said this on our college football show, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's worth mentioning. It's a fluid situation right now, both college football and the NFL. I don't know how any handicapper, and again, I'm not cutting anybody down. This is just my opinion. It's your prerogative who you want to follow. It's a handicapper's prerogative how they want to operate. My personal feeling, and I know from talking to Chipper, he agrees with me on this. The days of handicappers putting football picks out 4, 5, 6 days ahead of time should be you shouldn't follow them. That's my opinion, because it's a fluid situation now with this stuff with COVID, college football bowl season, coaches that are no longer there at the end of the regular season that either taken a job at a Power 5 school after a successful season, a coach that's been fired at the end of the regular season, but the record was still good enough to make a bowl game. Key players that opt out because they want to protect their draft status in fear of getting injured. Now, something we have to deal with, we never had to deal with before, is this transfer portal. You get all these players, regardless of how well they did at their school, how well their season went, looking for greener pastures and putting themselves into the transfer portal. So there's a lot to be considered, folks. So nobody's looking out for your best interest if they're putting stuff out well in advance.
Right.
Okay. Right. They're not doing you any favors. And again, I don't want anybody to think that I'm lambasting anybody who does. It's not our personal preference, and it's just my opinion. And I believe I can speak for Chip when I when I express that opinion. Agree or not, Chip?
No, I agree with you. We discussed this on the college show, and like I said early on, there used to be a late information service where when we did work through the phones, we'd post the game an hour, 2 hours before game time. Whereas now, because of the internet, it's at least 24 hours, and things can change in that time too. I mean, we woke up today, and like I said, the Raiders went from an underdog to a favorite in a snap of a hand, so snap of the fingers, and it's tough. I think the later you wait, the more information you can gather, the better off you are.
So Sunday night, Cleveland comes out as a 6-point favorite. They had just defeated, who did they beat?
Baltimore. They beat Baltimore by 2.
Yeah. Key win, closed to within 1 of the AFC North lead, 7-6, still on the outside looking in terms of the AFC wildcard race. Now in desperation mode over the last 4 weeks. They open as a 6-point favorite against a Raiders team that just looked absolutely horrific.
Brutal.
So you get some handicappers right away coming out with Cleveland. How are you doing now? Because Cleveland's a 1.5-point dog. So now you're stuck with a pick with Cleveland at -6. Case in point. Anyway, Chipper, what do you got for a free pick for us in the NFL on Sunday?
I'm going to say something which I've said before, and it's really not very nice. I mean, we've got the bowl season out there, and all the college kids are going, and the NFL has their version of a bowl game as well this weekend. It's called the Toilet Bowl, and they've got Houston at Jacksonville, 2-11 against 2-11, and just as bad against the points. And Houston's 1-5 on the road, and you say, how can you come up with a game like this? But here's Jacksonville, who can't get out of their own way, lead the league in turnovers with 25, or 30th on offense. But that's a major advantage over Houston, because Houston's dead last, 32nd, Ross. They were averaging 264 yards a game. Are you kidding me? There's some teams putting that up in a half if you got Brady throwing the ball. There's also 30th in defense. This Houston team at 385 yards is really, the whole organization's been in such rough shape the past year and a half. They don't play well on grass. They've only covered 3 of the last 12 on grass. Now here's an interesting factor, because when teams get beat by double figures, Ross, they usually bounce back the following week. Houston, after losing 5 games this year by double digits, is 0-5 against the number the following week. So they don't have much to recover with. I mean, the total here is the lowest I think I've seen in quite a while, 39.5, which I might want to play under. I mean, Houston's only averaging 13.6 points, but this Jacksonville Jaguar team led by Meyer and of course Trevor Lawrence, they're up to 13.8 points. So I don't know where the advantage is there, other than the fact that you got Urban Meyer and the fact that they're at home. This is a winnable game for the Jaguars. I think they're to play against Houston here. I wouldn't go crazy with it right now, but I do think that Jacksonville's the side. They're 5-2 against teams that are play on the road with losing records. And I'm just going to stick with it. I'm going to take Jacksonville here. I'm going to root for Lawrence. I mean, this Jacksonville's been so disappointing, but Houston, we expected them to do this. Now, Jacksonville had the worst record in the NFL last year, and they haven't improved all that much this season. We expected better things out of them, but I think this is a time for them to be able to put up a victory, which is much needed.
Yeah, when you looked at this line this week, again, this jumped right out at me.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville right now is anywhere from a 3 to a 4-point favorite. So we're going to give Chipper the benefit of the doubt here and give him a Jacksonville -3 over Houston in this game, because if you're shopping for lines, which you should do, Jacksonville -3 over Houston is Chipper's play. But
and excuse me, Ross, Jacksonville's still only 2-8 as favorites in their last 10. So, taking this side is an ugly, ugly side, and trying to take Houston, that's a no-brainer. You can't do that. You just can't.
When you see a 2-11 team as more than an opening field goal favorite, which Jacksonville opened -3.5. 2-11, you're -3.5 against a team with a similar record.
Right.
To me, they're giving you the winner. You know what I mean? And
I hope you're right.
I yelled at Chip last week because as good as he is, he had like 2 or 3 plays in the NFL last week that I asked, Chip, what are you doing?
Oh.
You're using bad teams and asking them to do good things for you.
Yeah.
But this is 2 bad teams. Okay. So somebody it's picked the lesser of 2 evils.
We're trying to avoid that, of course, Ross, but we talked before the week that we really weren't happy with the card last week. I mean, I did like Buffalo. There's no question. Maybe they were fortunate to come back and even tie the game, but they didn't get the money either.
Yeah.
And the sides which we're usually very strong with, they got hit. Las Vegas got hit on Sunday, but this happens. We had a great 3-week run in the NFL, particularly, and so it happens. This is we just dust ourselves off, get up, have a big winner on Monday night, have another one on Thursday night, and here we go.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on you by any stretch, because I went 2-3 on Saturday. Who
wins every day? Nobody wins every day.
Nobody. But I went 2-3 on Sunday. I lost 2 games in overtime because both of my teams I went against scored a touchdown on me in overtime. Cincinnati, you had the other side, by the way.
Yeah, I did.
You can get on me. You had San Francisco.
Well, it's a day in the life.
Exactly. Anyway, 14-8 with my last 22 in the NFL, by the way, folks. 10-4 the last 3 Sundays in the NFL. So that goes to show you could be doing well and you have a bad day. My NFL free pick, Tennessee at Pittsburgh, Chipper. Right now, Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite. I said this a few weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Tennessee's 9-4 right now. They're a fraud. They're a fraud, man. I'm telling you. Especially without Derrick Henry, this team is nothing.
Yeah.
Coming off a 20-0 home win over Jacksonville last week, they had less than 300 yards of total offense. You know how they won? They took advantage of a +4 turnover margin against the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. As a matter of fact, the last 3 weeks, Tennessee has averaged 15.3 points per game and went 1-2. They're 1-5 straight up in ATS since 2019. Following the game, they had a turnover margin of +3 or greater. So they don't respond good after being so fortunate in the previous game when it comes to turnovers. It's do or die for Pittsburgh. They're 6-1. I do like that they didn't quit last week, despite being way down in that game. coming back from and making a game of it.
Yep.
Look, I mean, 6-1. They're on the outside looking in, still have an outside shot at an AFC wild card spot, but they could ill afford to lose this winnable game at home, especially in light of the fact they have Cleveland, Baltimore, and Kansas City in their last 3 games. So they could ill afford to lose this game. And, I spoke about desperation and urgency last week and how important that is at this time of year. And this certainly takes hold in this matchup as well. And since 2019, Pittsburgh is 3-1 straight up and 3-0-1 against the spread as a home dog. So I'm going to like Pittsburgh here. And you know what else, folks? Pittsburgh since 2019, 5-0 straight up in ATS against AFC South teams. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 2.5. I would even pay the extra juice and buy it up to 3. Not a sign of weakness, just buying it up to a key number. So if you don't want to do that, I'm still okay with get the 2.5. I think Pittsburgh wins this game outright, but I'm not going to be greedy. I'm going to take the points afforded to me. So Pittsburgh plus the points over Tennessee. And Chip Chirimbus, who does Chip Chirimbus like?
I got the garbage. I got Jacksonville.
Jacksonville plus the 3.
But they're playing Houston
in the Stinky Bowl. And
they're playing Houston in the toilet bowl.
What do you got going on? How you been doing overall in the NFL? What do you got coming up?
Like I said, my megabook plays, my single strongest play each and every Sunday. Your 10-star, my best bet, has won 8 of the last 10 Sundays. And the 2 losses, like I mentioned, were games went overtime, where I was getting more than 3.5 and got beat by a touchdown in both instances. I really feel good. We have 3 games out there right now circled, and I'm not quite sure which one's going to be the one I give out, but I'm pretty sure all 3 of them are winners. So, anywhere I go, I'm really happy with it. The NFL's been good after the first month of the season. We really seem to straighten things out. And 5-0 2 weeks ago. Last week, not so good, but we did rebound with a Monday night winner. We had the big winner there, and looking for more.
That's chipwins.com is where you could find this guy's plays, and this guy is pretty damn good, and he's been pretty damn good for an awful long time. You can find me at rbwins.com. Like I alluded to earlier, my NFL picks are 14-8 the last 22, good for 64%. As a matter of fact, on Sundays, the last 3 Sundays, 10-4. I cashed in last Sunday with my 10-star top play on the Kansas City Chiefs, who won 48-9 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, folks, I cashed in on Monday night with the Rams, who are an outright underdog winner over the Arizona Cardinals. And bowl season's upon us. And folks, last 6 weeks of the college football season, 27-13, good for 68%. Overall, folks, all sports 47-29 with my last 76 picks, good for 62%. Dime players over that course of time have made $15,160. And my 10-star top plays overall, 10-2 with my last 12. And how about one last thing? Since 2018, my college basketball 10-star top plays, 82-52. That's good for 61%, folks. That's not a small sample size. As a matter of fact, that's a pretty big sample size with that kind of success. rbwins.com and chipwins.com. It's those 2 sites. When you go there, you pay a little to make a lot. Until the next time, we'd like to wish each and every one of you a very happy and safe holiday season. Good luck, God bless, and take care.